What is up, gamers? It's me, the Purple Sharpie, and we are live straight from a closed set of Game Devs of Color Expo 2024. I am your illustrious host, as always, the Purple Sharpie, and I'm here with two separate members from We Have Always Lived in the Forest. The first of which is Chantel Ryan, director and designer of this project, and Tony Lee, who is the lead programmer on this project. Welcome both to this developer interview.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So, Chantel, I got to probe your mind for a few moments. I believe we're here to talk about you all's latest project, darkwebSTREAMER. Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, darkwebSTREAMER is a psychological horror RPG simulation game in which you play as a streamer on the dark internet, trying to survive your fans as well as the messed up supernatural things that begin to come for you in your apartment.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm actually hearing from our producers right now. We just finished the summoning ritual. Let's go ahead and play that trailer.
Dark web. You will stream. You will watch. You will follow. Sacrifice yourself. What is inside of you? Cry. Bleed. Stream.
All right, so let's start off by talking about darkwebSTREAMER's narrative design. I think one of the craziest things about this game is the fact that it calls attention to kind of some of the 90s-esque aesthetic that we see, in terms of just the internet, instead of some of the web pages, and even in some of the just general actual graphics of the game. Chantel, talk to us about inspirations that you may have received from the 90s for this project.
Well, I grew up a child of both the 90s and the internet. The 90s internet in particular. I was given a computer when I was 8 years old, and it became my babysitter. So I spent many beloved long nights and mornings browsing GeoCities and torrent files and all sorts of different strange web pages and web rings. Going through IRC channels and MMers and all the rest. And it was a magical place, and it was sometimes a dark place. So I really just combined all of these inspirations and these sometimes strange experiences I had into more or less a kind of creative project of today, something of an archival project, I would say.
So I also understand that darkwebSTREAMER was actually conceived originally and started the development cycle back in 2021. Can you talk to us a little bit more about how you got from the very first iterations of this game to now?
Yes, I can. I was nearing the end of my degree in anthropology and English, and I was looking for an outlet, and I had this crazy idea for a video game. I was actually watching a movie in the middle of the night, a horror movie about a YouTuber. And when the movie finished, I saw that a flash of this game came to me fully formed. I knew what it was, how it should play, what it should look like. And I actually went to one of my best friends and I said, I just had an idea for the best video game ever. And he replied, let's do it. And I said, but neither of us knows how to make a video game. And he said, I'm sure we can figure it out. That was Ryan Truk, just to give credit where credit is due. And he learned to program, and I learned how to design games. And yeah, we worked together and posted pictures on the internet, on Twitter. Maybe 3 weeks into working on the project, at which point it kind of blew up and people were retweeting it. And we had publishers messaging us like, do you have a pitch deck? And yeah, it kind of grew beyond just a silly project that two friends were working on. At which point it was an ambitious project with a lot of technical complexities, and we decided that we needed more expertise. And so we actually found Turney, and Turney worked on some very similar things. So Turney runs Pixel Crushes, a Unity plugin company that specializes in a number of things, but what resonated with me was the interest in procedural generation and in kind of this interesting procedural tooling that they were doing, making procedural generation easier and like simplifying the complexity. So I'll let Turney talk about what happened when I reached out.
So, Tony, I want to go to you here. As Chantel stated, you were brought onto the project actually in July 2023. The project at the time, I understand, was originally inside of Game Maker 3. You brought it over into Unity, and you actually have a very illustrious history inside of game development as the owner of Pixel Crushers, which is, as she stated previously, a procedural generated narrative device inside of Unity that allows a little bit more freedom for developers and creators. Talk to us a little bit about your history inside of game dev and coming into this project and moving from one engine to the other.
Sure. Pixel Crushers focuses mainly on narrative AI. Our most recognizable product is called the dialogue system for Unity, which is used in games like Disco Elysium and Eternites and Lake. But Chantal's interest was piqued by one of our other products that simulates relationships and emotional states, which of course are very important to narrative, especially procedural narrative. So Chantal brought me on to the project. The entire concept really intrigued me, and it was actually a pleasure switching it from Game Maker to Unity because Ryan did a fantastic job setting it up in Game Maker. But we decided that Unity would be a good platform for making it available on multiple different types of devices, not just Windows, but Mac, Linux, and possibly others in the future. And it also gave us the ability to write some of the more complex engineering in a more robust language, C#.
So as you moved from Game Maker into Unity and you received the opportunity to create several different flags and you kind of worked with Chantel to nest out a lot more of these stories, were there any specific additional plugins that you noticed that really helped you accomplish the goals and keep a lot of the elements that you wanted to keep inside of this project?
So funny enough, this project does not use any Pixel Crushers assets, but because of the unique nature of the design, everything is bespoke. The text parser is quite sophisticated. It's used to generate a lot of the procedural events and text and create and manage all the flags and back-end information that keeps track of the simulated non-player personas, NPPs, and everything that's happening in the back end, such as simulating the player's apartment. Every apartment is procedurally generated, simulating all of the items that can be streamed and everything else in the game. And I'm sure Chantal can talk quite a bit more about the design of all of that procedural content.
Yeah, Chantal, let's go over to you here actually, because I think that Tony actually touched on something really, really important that doesn't typically get discussed inside of narrative, which is that certain engines do allow different functions, especially for narrative. And not everybody's first thought with Unity is to use that to create a narrative engine. But I understand that narrative design was very, very important for you inside this project. And the uniqueness for each player was very, very important for you inside of this project as well. Talk to us about why you wanted so hard to make sure that every single player had a different experience, and also why uniqueness matters when it comes to the story.
Those are great questions. I could talk about them for so long. But to keep it short, I think, I talk about how the game came to me almost as a vision, or very literally as a vision. But as I was walking through this vision, I saw it's important to mention that I am a writer before anything. So, I was writing stories at the time, like I always have been in my life. And I've always been very experimental when it comes to my writing. So when I was thinking about this game, um, I began to think, like, what if I could tell a story so well that I could write a story that tells itself? And this question really formed the basis of the narrative approach that we used when it came to darkwebSTREAMER, where I had also been reading a lot of really fun stories and narratives from other games. I know Crusader Kings was one where I really like to go to the subreddit. And I don't think I even saw any gameplay from that game, but I would love to read people's stories of the playthroughs that they had. And so I realized that, and going off my own gaming experiences with games that use a lot of procedural generation, so things like The Sims or, the Elder Scrolls games, which I love to mod with procedurally generated events. I would, I realized that the most exciting things about games for me are actually the stories you tell yourself as somebody playing. So, uh, something I like to say is you actually experience a game twice. The first time is when you play the game, but the second time is when you tell someone else about your experience. You narrativize that experience, and you find that you actually enjoy the experience more the second time. So I wanted people to have these unique experiences that they could tell stories about to each other, and they would be entertaining and fresh and new. And, one would be like, what? I had no idea that could happen. I had this completely different experience. So I really wanted to chase manifesting that in a game.
As a final question, I know we talked about the accolades from the community and making sure that everyone can see themselves inside of this game. I understand that you all are actually working on allowing that to be even more personable. I hear that you all are working on creating your own modding application that will allow users and budding developers to actually move forward by adding their own experiences and events inside of the game. Chantal, I'd like to start with
So in the game, we actually decided very early, really from day one, that we wanted darkwebSTREAMER to be the most moddable game of all time. I am a huge fan of mods and being able to change experiences to exactly the kind of game I want to play and keeping it fresh. So, a huge mission for us has been to actually make the modding tools the same as the dev tools. So, our mantra at the studio is if we can make it, you can make it. So, yeah, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for people, especially people with minimal programming experience, writers and artists, etc. We want them to come in and be able to add their own stories to the game, their own narratives, their own graphics, etc. And we want to make that really easily shareable with their friends and with the darkwebSTREAMER community.
Well, it's always fantastic to speak to a studio that has the mind of the longevity of the community. when they're creating a project. Once again, thank you so much, both Chantel and Tony, for being here with me today.
Thank you, Sharpie.
My pleasure.
That's going to do it for yet another developer interview here at Game Devs of Color Expo 2024. If you would like to support darkwebSTREAMER and check them out, you can do so by wishlisting the game currently on Steam right now, or checking out darkwebstreamer.com and finding out some really cool, creepy Easter eggs. That's going to do it. I'll see you guys even more with more talks, developer interviews, and panels. Stay tuned.